near you. And the best part is that it's free for candidates to access 24/7. If you want a local job when you don't have to spend a lot of money on gas to get to, then you want access to IllinoisJobPost.com to check out current local job openings. That web address again is IllinoisJobPost.com, another service from your friends at the Miller Media Group.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the phone today is Dr. Lisa Taylor, Superintendent of Heyworth Schools. Good morning, Dr. Taylor. It's been a while. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Happy spring. And I know, Dr. Taylor, I can't believe I did this to myself. I told you in the break or before we got started, I was like, I think we finally turned the corner to spring, and I got a ball game on Monday. And as we were chatting, I was looking at the weather for next week, and the day I have to go to a ball game, it's going to be like 50 degrees, wind chills in the 40s. So, remind me never to say positive things about the weather ever again.
Exactly, because it could be summer or winter each day.
Exactly.
June, I think.
Oh, my goodness. It's ridiculous. But anyways, have you been able to get a lot of your sports in? Like, how is the spring season treated your kids so far?
We had that really nice week or two, a full week where we got a lot of games in, and then it's been hit or miss. And I saw parents at games last weekend, mostly on social media, but they looked like they were freezing, right? It was snowing a little bit. So it's been hit or miss, but getting better here lately. And we have a home baseball and softball tonight. So those should be great to go to. But tomorrow looks a little chillier and rain. So we'll see.
Oh, just fun. Welcome to Illinois, right?
Yep.
Just when you think you've got it made, you do not. So anyways, and speaking of, just when you think you've got it made, you don't. That's what it's got to be like to watch Springfield and kind of worry about what they're going to do for education next in terms of their bills and laws and that sort of thing. Like, is that a good comp, Dr. Taylor?
Yeah, definitely. And I right now, you've probably heard this from other superintendents, but it is so busy and there are so many bills going across our email and just trying to prepare for those because we know there's a lot being passed and a lot going to be passed. And how do we, get everything in place before next school year starts? Because they usually don't give you a lot of time and patience in implementing these things either.
Yeah. So what has come across your email that is of concern to you? Like what's kind of caught your eye lately?
Sure. So there's one that is definitely taking a lot of time, especially on smaller districts. There was a trailer bill to face law, which actually is around looking for allegations of sexual misconduct when you are hiring employees. And so generally when you do reference checks, you check into those things. But ISB has come out with basically mandated, they've come out with templates. So if we're hiring anybody new who's going to work with kids and there's not clarification yet, does this apply to like athletic officials and contractors we hire for construction? But it does apply to substitutes, teachers, aides, secretaries. We have to basically send a form to every former employer they've had where they've worked with kids. And employers have 20 days to respond. And then there's a reporting piece where you have to report this to the state superintendent. So it is a lot of work that everybody's just not prepared for, right? A lot of us have one person who does HR and payroll. And so to add that on for hundreds of people, potentially, me looking into the same substitutes that Leroy, Tri-Valley, Clinton are, we're all kind of duplicating efforts. And so that one's got everybody kind of up in arms right now. There are a couple others. There's a bill out there mandating a dyslexia screener. So kind of more tests. Again, probably good intentions, but is that needed in every district? Or can you trust us to do that where it is needed? And the one that's getting the most recent attention, and I think it will pass, is changing teacher tenure from 4 years to 3 years. And I see some benefit in that. I think the intent is if people get tenure, they'll stay and we won't have as much turnover. But at the same time, it's a hard job to learn in a short amount of time. And if districts aren't sure, now they don't have an extra year to train you. So that one is believed that it will pass this week.
You mean you don't have time to chase down, someone that's been in a lot of different areas of, work? You don't have time to chase down all their employers from the 1990s and the 1980s, Dr. Taylor? I mean, come on.
Right.
What are you all doing in these schools these days? Come on.
Seriously. And then of course, on the other end, you have to respond to all of those requests for anybody who's worked for you at some point. And, many years ago, teachers worked in the same district for 30 years, and maybe that wouldn't be as much, but people can move wherever they want now. There's a teacher shortage, and young people move more often and change jobs more often. And so it's a long list for every person. So our goal right now is to get everybody hired that we can by July 1st before the new law goes into effect.
Well, then you're going to have to deal with it after that. But I guess in the meantime, I guess this kind of speaks to more advocating because, for years and years and years, we've talked about, the ridiculous bills that come from Springfield, how much of a burden it's going to be, whether it's financially, whether it's time consuming, and there's just, it's always something, and they pile on top of each other and that sort of thing. So I guess speak to the advocacy that goes on in Springfield. Like, do you have someone there that you could, that could go to these people and say, this is not going to work. This is not practical for our education system today?
Yeah, we, of course, all the professional associations advocate for districts, local control, right? Don't create more unfunded mandates, right? That sort of thing. But another way we advocate, we met with the new state superintendent this week at Normal West, and actually this bill was brought up in discussion by superintendents with concerns about how we can get this done. And he has been very focused on this in his first few months of work. He's, as a superintendent in Elgin, and he wasn't even aware of this one because of the quantity of bills, right? And that's part of the issue in Illinois, right? Is there's so many things coming so fast. And we talked a lot about if you could help us slow this down, right? If you could help us with fair implementation timelines. And so we'll continue to do that work. I don't want to say I've completely given up, but I don't know sometimes how much of a difference it makes, unfortunately.
No doubt. Now, what was the other one, Dr. Taylor, you keyed in on? Forgive me, I can't remember.
Well, there's expected to be a mandate to screen all kids for dyslexia instead of what we do now, which is kids who have challenges, right? We don't want to do another math test for every kid at whatever grade level is determined. But I think that's going to be connected to, and I think this will pass, the state is going to mandate a statewide literacy plan. And what will happen there is you will have ongoing debates, right, about what's the best way to teach reading. And I just keep thinking to myself, is this really where their efforts should be? We have teachers in the classroom who are qualified to do their jobs. We need to trust them to do it and help kids who are struggling, right? And I know that sounds simple, and that's our job. However, then you have all of these other new plans and new mandates that will come within that, right? And so we don't know what that future looks like either.
Interesting stuff. Dr. Lisa Taylor, Superintendent of Heyworth Schools, is our guest on the phone here for this morning. Dr. Taylor, anything else out of Springfield of concern? I mean, this is a legislature that seems to be moving pretty quickly, and, they like to pass bills. We joked about that a little bit before we got started here this morning. Is there, by the way, are you really serving your kids food that is too spicy? Are you scorching these poor kids' taste buds with habanero sauce and cayenne pepper in some of these things?
You caught us. No, we are not. And that is just another thing that is a bunch of nonsense that they're spending too much time on.
I mean, I have to be honest, like, maybe the food in the school cafeteria has gotten better. Like, school food was awful when I was in school. One, it didn't even have flavor. So the fact that we could be overspicing the food in schools is a joke. But
right.
it was awful 25 years ago when I was in school. I don't know, that's probably a stretch, but still, it was awful then. It has to be awful now, right? And I'm not like not trying to make like your cooks out to be like they're not making good food for these kids, but like, you're not going to Buffalo Wild Wings ordering, buffalo sauce, right?
Habanero wings or something.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, school, I would agree, school cafeteria food was not ideal when we were kids, and it's not something, that I think you would drive and pay extra money for now. However, as you said, the kitchen staff does a great job, but they have so many. I mean, if you could see all the compliance issues in food service alone, I know 2 food service directors in this area that have resigned recently because it is so hard to check every box. There's so many rules about what can be served and how much can be served and what it can be next to and where it can be and what kind of measurements, right? And it's just so overcomplicated that it doesn't help our issues of not having enough staff. And to insinuate that, we've got too flavorful of food is a stretch.
It's funny. I cannot remember I was thinking about this morning. I cannot remember what the subject area was. It might have been the teacher shortage thing. I can't remember, but it's so funny how the state puts so much regulation on, certain things. Like you're talking about like school cafeterias, and there's probably other things like classroom regulations and how much time you spend at PE. Like you have so much you have to do. They have layered things so much, and now all of a sudden, like, we're realizing we've layered things too much. How do we peel back? How do we undo what we've done? And it's like, just take some of these mandates off of these people, and perhaps it flows a little smoother.
Yeah, that was the exact conversation with the state superintendent, right? Is all of these mandates, all of this compliance requires, right, people, administrative support staff to figure all this out. Because I don't want my teachers in the classroom, right, spending their time on this. They need to be teaching. And that was the big ask. And I will say the state superintendent, Tony Sanders, did say one of his major focuses will be, so they collect a lot of data from us at the state, and they collect a lot of duplicate data because their systems don't talk to each other. So the grant system with the enrollment system with the food system. And so one superintendent even suggested, he's like, if you're going to mandate something, can you just mandate we all use the same system and you have access to it so you can just take what you want? Like, people are so frustrated with sending the State Board of Education data after data after data that's, so much duplicate and takes so much time on our end. And so if there's any hope, hopefully they can streamline some of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we've suffocated people and we wonder why they can't breathe all of a sudden. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. Well, Dr. Taylor, I'll tell you what, let's take a time out here. We'll come back and talk some more. How do folks learn more about what's happening in your district at Heyworth Schools?
Yeah, check out our Facebook and our website. Our website is husd4.org.
That is Dr. Lisa Taylor, Superintendent of Heyworth Schools, my guest on the phone. More to come with her on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
Did you know our full-service automotive detail shop started with just one employee? This is Scott Baum. At Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton, we can't take the credit for the great ideas that have helped us grow. In fact, it's the employees and customers who've supported our full-service offerings, such as their service, parts, collision, detail, quick lube, and towing departments. For transportation, if you need it, we offer it. Just part of our commitment to providing you great service. BaumChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
Hi, I'm Dave Jackson, owner of your Clinton Save-A-Lot store in downtown Clinton, here to talk to you about our great produce department. We take great pride in being recognized by more and more customers as the place to go for the absolute freshest produce in Central Illinois. Our 7 produce professionals are very picky and won't put it out for sale if they wouldn't buy it themselves. Huge savings and the freshest produce are waiting for you at your Clinton Save-A-Lot. Hope to see you soon.
Are you a good listener? Has anyone ever accused you of being a problem solver? Do you get a thrill out of having people say yes to you? If so, the Miller Media Group would like to talk to you. Here at the Miller Media Group, we have a ton of fun helping businesses grow, and we could use some more help. So if you or someone you know has marketing and advertising experience or any of the previously mentioned skills and wants the opportunity to earn with commissions over $50,000 a year, send your resume to sales@randyradio.com. That's sales@randyradio.com. The Miller Media Group is an equal opportunity employer.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Dr. Lisa Taylor, Superintendent of Heyworth Schools, my guest on the phone here for this morning. Dr. Taylor, of course, about a month and a half ago now, we had the school. Was it a month and a half ago? No, it was like 2 weeks ago. Wow. Oh, my gosh. Anyways, we had school board elections recently. Tell me about what happened in Heyworth. How did yours go?
Sure, we have two new board members and we actually have a vacant seat. So there's another process for filling that. But we have Jacob Crow, who is a parent, an active community member, and then Jen Patrick. She used to be on the board, so she has a little bit of experience there. And so both of them joined us, and we did our whole reorganization, which is where you elect new officers and appoint your committees, all the business stuff, take the oath of office and that sort of thing. And so we always have, supportive board members. So I'm lucky in that area, and just people who are involved, right? Because as a board, you set the policy, you evaluate the superintendent, but our board members are at events, they're, helping, they're donating their time, their efforts, their energy. So that's one of the great things about being in a small community.
Sure. Now, that's one thing I've heard a lot about is like vacancies on boards. Talk to me a little bit about your situation in Heyworth. What happened there? How did that, were there folks that went for just the 4-term seats and then the 2-year got kind of left in the dust? How did that work?
So ours are all 4 years, and we only had one contested seat, but we did not have any. So we have township ranges, which makes it even more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And so no more than 3 board members can be from any one township range. And it was very confusing on the ballot, right? Because we had 4 people running and we had 4 open seats, but 2 of them were running for the same seat.
Right, yeah.
So we end up with an unfilled seat, and we've already put information out there. And I actually just got an email today about this to community members. You have to live in these ranges, but if you're interested, they could fill the seat until the next election. And so I'm sure we'll get some interest in that. And hopefully when you do have a vacant seat, so there's a law that requires that we put on the ballot next time to make Heyworth where just the top votes win. So kind of not eliminating the ranges, but eliminating it from the voting itself. So we'll have to do a lot on educating our community. Every year, the ballot for these local government elections is confusing. There's always newspaper articles about it, and it's difficult to understand. And so I think an easier process, right? Especially when we don't have 30 people, just dying to be on a school board seat where you deal with divisive issues.
Yeah.
I think that would be, better overall for the community.
And it's interesting because it really felt like the school board, in light of the, COVID situation the last couple of years, it really felt like the school board was going to be an area where people really had an interest, really wanted to step up and, make a difference and really just, it felt like maybe that's where the emphasis was going to be. And it really just didn't really materialize that way. I did a ball game yesterday with Dr. Vic Zimmerman, and we were talking about that. The push for the school board that we were anticipating really didn't materialize in a lot of places.
Yeah, I think, we all expected it to materialize and to have kind of people lobbying on both extremes, right? I know the governor was involved in kind of endorsing and supporting certain candidates, right? But it really, to me, it doesn't sound like that materialized statewide. And so I hope that goes to, common sense cares. And although the world seems very divisive, right? Most of us are kind of in the middle and reasonable people. Like we want to understand different perspectives. We feel how we feel. We believe how we believe. But we're not disrespectful and crazy towards each other. And so I think, having a high functioning board is important to having a high functioning school district and community. And so, it's an important seat. And maybe not always recognized as one that's that glamorous, but it is very important work.
Well, and it's, it's one of those things. I mean, like I said, it just felt like that's where a lot of people were going to gravitate to. So what happened? I mean, what do you think happened where maybe the interest, is it just one of those things where people, and probably social media fueled a lot of this, but is it one of those things where maybe people talked a big game and then, when it came, push came to shove, they weren't willing to put their money where their mouth was type of stuff? What do you think happened there?
Yeah, I think people, feel passionately about, especially these controversial issues, right? Closing of schools, masking, et cetera. But I think when they listen and learn, and they really learn what things you do get to control as a school board, right? And the government, just like you and I were talking about, the regulations and the compliance things, that's not the bulk of the work that we do, right? It's not just passionate issues. There's a lot of other work that we do, and it's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort, it's a lot of energy. In a small town, it's a lot of people upset with you, right? It can be lonely. because, and sometimes a lot of people in support of you, but people don't understand when you tell them, I can't discuss that, it's personnel, right? And so it does create, it's harder when you know everybody. I think it is one of those positions.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and also I think a lot of it just, is that like those divisive issues you speak about, those are only temporary type of things. But I think if you really want to make a difference, like you really do need to step up and be a part of the school board, because, you're taking on things like curriculum and school policy and budgeting and, where do you spend your money? How do, and like, I know a lot of that kind of, there's it's like the vending machine where like nickels go in this one, dimes go in this one, quarters, like money has to go to certain places. But at the same time, there is some flexibility on, okay, we can improve facilities. Do we want to, look at new ball fields? Do we want to fix this around the district? Like there's a lot of those conversations that get had at the same time.
Yeah, I think the day-to-day work is the more rewarding work, right? And it's seeing kids achieve, seeing kids be successful in whatever it is. But unfortunately, those things don't make the news, right? And it's definitely, I think, a deterrent for people to run when you see hundreds of people angry about something, right? And we've had an issue like that recently, and we handled it professionally and confidentially. It's personnel, right? And our community has been supportive of that. But when you hear or read what's on social media, to run for a seat that has to handle those types of issues, you got to be prepared for that too. And I think that's unfortunate because it takes away from, 90% of the great work that school board members do.
I didn't mean to leave us 1 minute for this topic, Dr. Taylor, but I know you're doing some facility things as well. Quickly highlight that for us.
Yeah, just a couple little projects. Our ag shop roof is being replaced and they'll be out here Monday. So we're moving those classes inside and getting that building in a little better shape. And then we are accepting bids right now for our elementary parking lot and really looking to add some space there to kind of clean up some safety issues and just, not have so many cars parking in people's driveways and front yards when we have school events because they're so well attended.
Well, Dr. Taylor, it's always good to talk with you. Thanks for making time for us. Again, best way for folks to follow along with all things Heyworth Schools.
Yeah, definitely on Facebook and social media. Our schools have pages and we have a district page, but Facebook is a great place to just get some up-to-date information about us. And our website is a great resource too. It's HUSD4.org.
Dr. Taylor, thank you again for your time today. Again, good to have you. Dr. Lisa Taylor, Superintendent of Heyworth Schools, our guest on the phone. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance.
WHOW.